Acceleration does not solve anything when brain is not engaged. Motorsports to me is therapy. It's like Buddhism at 150 miles an hour. Smooth, it's fast. And it's a lot of analogies to leadership. I'm an entrepreneur. Some people call me a leader. I built 40 different organizations. I built the largest nonprofit financial services and financial literacy organization in the country. Services are free. Built the largest minority-controlled owner of single-family rental real estate in the country. I build things, authored books, all that kind of stuff. You need a challenge. You need some kind of a negative situation to challenge your character so that you see how you respond, because life is 10% what life does to you and 90% how you choose to respond to it. You cannot play games on a track. The consequences are just too high. It's life or death. And so when the consequences are that high, BS goes through the window. Drama goes through the window. Ego tripping goes through the window. It's you. It's the car, it's the road. And I'm much calmer now. I'm much more seated. I'm much more rooted, in large part because I conquered the track. And then beyond conquering the track, became friends with the track. Fell in love with the car. Had a love affair with me, the car, and the track. Now we're actually one. It's quite spiritual, but that didn't start out that way. It started out quite messy. I got this Lotus Evora, a 2010. It was just a cool looking car. It was beautiful. It was art rolling. And like a lot of people, I figured that was enough. It's just the start. A good car is just the start. In fact, I now believe I'd rather be a great driver with a crappy car than a crappy driver with a beautiful car. I went to Chin Motorsports in November 2014 for a track day. And luckily for me, the night before at 11:30 p.m., 30 minutes before the cutoff time, I believe, I got track insurance. I figured I don't need it. You know, I'm a good driver, I figured. But it's $450. Okay, fine. So I was online, I was sitting and watching the news, and I just, okay, what's the big deal? Yeah. By the way, if it was complicated, I wouldn't have done it. So kudos to the insurance company for making it really simple. It took me 15 minutes. I was multitasking, credit card, done. I won't need that. And then my dumb rear end didn't get the $2,000 deductible. I got the $9,000 deductible, which for $50 I could have closed that link. So talking about, I'm the financial literacy genius. I created financial literacy policy for the US under US President George Bush. I'm an idiot, okay? For $50, I gave away another $8,000. The next morning, I go driving to Road Atlanta, and it was cold. It was November 2014. And I got to the track for a 7:30 driver's briefing, and then at 8 o'clock, you go on the track for warm-up. So cold track, cold car, cold tires, novice driver. Not a good combination. They assigned an instructor to me. Fantastic. I'm going, what could go wrong? I didn't realize then that the philosophies on the track are the same philosophies in business. If this guy doesn't care about you, it doesn't matter how big the agreement is. If two people on both sides aren't honest, the agreement's not worth anything. Like, I'd rather have a handshake with Ed than a contract with a crook. Well, this guy wasn't a crook, he just didn't care. This instructor was there for a free weekend of driving. If he gave me instruction, he would get a free weekend of driving for himself. I didn't know that. I figured everybody was authentic. He asked me my name and that was about it. I tried to engage in conversation with him. The next thing he said with me was, grab your helmet. I asked him, do you want to drive the car? He said no. So here's a guy who's never driven my car, doesn't know me, doesn't seem to care. He gets in the passenger seat, I get in the driver's seat, put the helmet on, we go to track for warm up, and he started grabbing my steering wheel while I'm going around turn one, yanking it while I'm driving, not a good sign. He was trying to show me the driving line, but he was impatient. He didn't want to do the training, he just wanted to get to the end. So he started yanking the steering wheel. Okay, fine. Finally, checkered flag, okay, I've survived, warm up, right? We go around the track, we get to, I think, turn 6, right before turn 7. Turn 7 is the slowest turn and one of the most dangerous, Ed Road, Atlanta. 12 is probably the most dangerous, but 7 is very hairy. I remember saying before that, I was on the straightaway and I said, you know, the traction control had jumped off the car. He said, you won't need it. Oh, okay, you're the boss. So we come around turn 7, traction control's off. All Nanny's helpers are off. And we come around turn 7 and he says, hit it. Now, we've already gone through the warm-up session. We already got the checkered flag. We're going basically into the pit area. I don't know what got into this guy. But he just said hit it for some reason. I did what the instructor said. I hit it. Acceleration does not solve anything when brain is not engaged. Man, I had one wheel on the dirt and one wheel on the pavement. The wheel that's on the pavement grabbed. And then the wheel on the dirt tried to grab. Car jerked a little bit, turned toward the wall. Airbags deployed. I was the star of the day. Ambulances, I had flatbeds, I had track closed. It was a mess. Had been on the track for 10 minutes. I guess I should have been embarrassed. I wasn't. I was upset that I had been punked by this guy who didn't give a dang about me and could have ended our lives and could have ruined my whole experience about motorsports. So, you know, when you almost drown, what you got to do is get back in the water really quick. Otherwise, you'll be terrified for the rest of your life. And I wasn't going out like no punk. That's not the way I roll, right? So I called the owner of Chin Motorsports, the general manager, Mark Hicks, and I explained my story. He didn't get upset. He didn't get defensive. He didn't get his back up. He said, let me fix it. Come out. We'll get into my BRZ. And I'll take you around the track for 2 days and give you training. There'll be no cost, a $2,000 value. I was his last client as an instructor because he'd got out of that business a long time ago. He was just doing it because the reputation of his company was on the line. He had done a little bit of research on me, realized that I was, you know, a public figure, whatever. But I think he was trying to make a point with me, like, there's not a lot of people like me in motorsports, right? We can't lose one. It's like a brother at a bar mitzvah. You can't miss one, right? You you get the brother to show up, you gotta convert him. He took me out and I did 300 miles in that BRZ with Mark Hicks at Road Atlanta, and I fell in love. And I conquered my fear. And after that, I went to what was then Skip Barber Racing School. Sort of threw my nose up in the Miata till I drove one. Those little things can be terrifying. They're low horsepower and high fun. Loved it and got my full competitive racing license for SCCA. Then I went to Europe and I raced in Norway in BMWs in an endurance race, won twice. Then I went to South Africa and won in my category in a Ford Shelby Can-Am car prototype. I won my first endurance race there. And now I'm hooked. And that turned into Bryan Group Motors, which is my excuse to spend money. How do you make $1 million in motorsports? Start with 10 million, right? Now I've converted that Lotus Evora with that insurance money. Took the insurance money, a little bit of my money, and that became a one-of-a-kind, what I call Lotus GT car. And it's been in Fast and Furious 8 and is a fantastic track car. It's my backup track car, which means I spend way too much time and money on the track, but I'm happy. And we've now used that as a gateway to actually bring young people of color who are intimidated by the track, intimidated by the experience, don't see anybody who looks like them, feels like it's not for them. These guys on the track are the nicest people on the planet. Oh my God, they're just incredibly helpful. But if you're on the outside looking in, that's not obvious. So I created Bryan Group Motorsports Academy with Henry Ford III. That's a whole nother story, who I met through this whole experience. He and I are like brothers from other mothers. We're close friends. And now Ford Motorsports has given us some cars, and I've got a collector's edition GT350R, and I'm living my dream. I was just out on the track a couple weeks ago, taking people on laps. So what started out with somebody taking me out on the lap of my life and almost ending my life has now have me now taking people out for the laps of their life, giving them life and exposing them to a new life. And I wouldn't have it any other way.